So I received the following comment a couple of videos ago from a Mr. Bot. He asks, how does one recover from a period of unwanted slacking off? What are some good practices and ways to recover? Essentially asking how to get your life back together. Now, when I came across this comment, the first thing that came to my mind was actually a ritual that I invented many years ago back in college when I was drinking, smoking, and simply partying way too hard. It's a ritual that worked extremely well for me back then, and it's something that I still do at least once or twice every single year. I call it the dopamine fast. Now, in order for this to work, you have to treat it like a sort of holiday. This is an entire day event that starts from the moment you wake up all the way until the moment you fall asleep. And this is a special holiday because unlike most other holidays which are fun and filled with activities, the entire purpose of this one is to have as little fun as possible, which means that there's a huge list of things that you cannot do. That's right, things that you consider to be fun, entertaining, or pleasurable are strictly forbidden. So this means no food. All you're allowed to do is drink water. No phone. You can leave it on for emergency calls, but you can't use it. No internet, which includes surfing the web and or social media of any kind, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. No watching of videos. So this means no TV, no YouTube, no Netflix, no going to the movies, no substances of any kind, no alcohol, no weed, no drugs, no cigarettes, and nothing with caffeine. No video games, no music, no hanging out with your friends, no talking to anyone unless it's an emergency or for something work related, no masturbating, and finally, no reading of any books, fiction and or non-fiction. Now here's what you can do. You can drink water. You can walk around outside, you can meditate, you can do some light exercise, and most importantly of all, you can write using a pen and paper. And those are the rules. Now at this point in time, you're probably wondering, why in the world would anyone do this to themselves? It sounds miserable. It sounds like torture. Well, I'm going to show you exactly why the dopamine fast is so effective and how committing to this ritual can force you into becoming extremely productive again. And I'm also going to explain why writing is so important during a dopamine fast. But before we do that, I do want to thank the sponsors of today's videos, the guys over at Vincero Watches. If you're going to be doing a dopamine fast, which means you're basically doing nothing all day, trust me, you're gonna end up wondering what the time is quite often, which means you need a watch. But on a more serious note, I never really wore watches before getting introduced to Vincero earlier this year, and since then I've been paying a lot more attention to the way I dress and the importance of fashion in general. And by just applying some simple fashion tips like matching the color of my watch strap with the color of my belt and shoes, I've actually started to get a lot more compliments, especially from my female friends. It's accessories like watches that can change your entire demeanor and how people view you because, well, a good watch indicates that you're someone of high status. Now, there are a lot of cookie cutter, mass-produced, low-quality watches out there, so it's kind of hard to find a good watch to add to your outfit nowadays. Vincero is great because they stand out, they have expensive-looking designs, and the quality is top-notch. On top of all that, they're super affordable. They provide the look and the feel of a watch worth 5x the price point. Now, I managed to get Vincero to hook us up with an amazing deal that I know you guys are going to love. All you have to do is click on the link in the description box below to find out more about it. Alright, so let's resume our conversation about the dopamine fast. Now, there are two main reasons as to why it's so effective. The first is that it starves your donkey. What do I mean by this? Well, if you think about it, the relationship between your mind and body is sort of like the relationship between a rider and a donkey. If you're riding a donkey and you want it to move, all you have to do is wave a carrot in front of him. This is similar to how if you want to convince your body to do something that's hard, all you have to do is think about the reward you'll get after. This is basically how habits work. We automatically do things as long as there is a decent reward that follows, as long as there is a carrot on a stick. Now, what happens to us when our life is a mess is that we've been indulging in too many stimulating things. Things like porn, drugs, junk food, and binge watching shows all produce a huge amount of dopamine. This is equivalent to letting your donkey eat at a buffet of carrots and other tasty donkey vegetables. If your donkey's been eating at a buffet all week, he's not going to be motivated by a little carrot on a stick anymore because he's full. When you commit to doing a dopamine fast, you're essentially starving your donkey. You're giving your body as little stimulation as possible for an entire day. And when your donkey is starving, you can easily convince him to move by waving just a little carrot in front of him. This means when you wake up in the morning after doing a dopamine fast, you'll find it much easier to convince yourself to go to the gym or to read some pages of a book by thinking about the reward you will give yourself after. The second reason committing to a dopamine fast is so effective is because it prevents you from masking your pain. What is the purpose of pain? Well, if you think about it, pain is an indicator that something is wrong and needs to be fixed, right? It's a sign that there's a problem somewhere. If your hand is touching something that's too hot, you feel pain and your brain goes, there's a problem over there, and it automatically moves your hand. Pain is necessary for us to fix our problems. The same thing applies to emotional pain. Things like rejection, loneliness, and shame. These are all indicators that something is wrong in our lives. But the problem with us humans is that we love to run away from these feelings. We love to self-medicate with pleasure instead of solving the actual problem. That's why so many people turn to food, drugs, sex, and alcohol when they're in a bad mood, because all of these things can make that pain go away, at least temporarily. Now, when you do a dopamine fast, you have no way of avoiding your problems because there's literally nothing you can do to mask any of the pain. And this forces you to address all of the problems that you've been running away from for who knows how long. And here's where writing comes in. In order to address this pain, the best thing to do is to write, to organize your thoughts, to figure out why you're feeling this pain to begin with, and to eventually come up with a plan. See, every time I commit to doing a dopamine fast, I will spend at least a couple of hours writing throughout the day. Here are a couple of very good questions to ask yourself. These are the writing prompts that I'll use most often whenever I commit to doing a dopamine fast. Question number 1. Do I feel any discomfort today? If so, where in my body am I feeling it? Is this an emotion or is this physical pain? If it's an emotion, try to describe it. Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is it shame? What does it feel like? Question number 2. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Now, it's important not to blame a chemical reason or, genetics or other people, because most of the time the reason we feel bad is because of something that we can control. There are almost always things that you are doing that are causing these issues. So ask yourself, what things have I been doing that could possibly be causing these issues? Question number 3. What should I do to fix it? What are 1 to 3 things that I can do tomorrow that will at least somewhat address this pain? Things that would get me a couple of steps closer to fixing whatever problem is causing this pain. Question number 4. What would my life be like if I did not do any of these 1 to 3 things for the next 5 years? Assume the worst possible scenario and really describe it. And finally, question number 5. What would my life be like if I stuck to these 1 to 3 things consistently for the next 5 years? Assume the best possible scenario and really describe it. Now, the key to getting the most out of these writing prompts is to write a lot. The more you write, the better. But allow yourself to really focus on what you're writing. Give yourself some time to think between answering each of these prompts. Write slowly and neatly. You have all of the time in the world because, quite frankly, there isn't much else to do. If you answer all of these prompts in detail, you're going to have a clear idea of exactly what you need to do tomorrow. You're going to feel pretty motivated to stick to the 1 to 3 things that you wrote about because you'll come to realize that there are things that will get you closer to solving your problems. And that's why the dopamine fast is so effective. Now again, this is a ritual that I came up with, but worked really well for me. So I'm curious as to whether or not it will have the same effect for you guys. If you're trying to get your life back together, try this out and let me know in the comments below how you felt the next day. Besides that, guys, stay tuned.